Sejam bem-vindos aos debates KOFF 2024. Meu nome é Duda Persson e eu sou produtora executiva do KOFF. No momento em que o Brasil se posiciona como um dos maiores consumidores das produções audiovisuais da Coreia do Sul, é de extrema importância a realização de um projeto que celebre a excelência do cinema sul-coreano no Brasil. O projeto já alcançou mais de 3 milhões de visualizações nas redes sociais em 2023 e 2024, oferecendo 35 mil ingressos gratuitos durante as exibições presenciais. À medida que cinemas do mundo todo se adaptam ao novo normal, o período pós-Covid apresenta desafios e oportunidades únicas para a indústria cinematográfica. Esse debate vai explorar como as salas de cinema estão atraindo o público de volta, com foco no papel evolutivo dos blockbusters, no impacto da tecnologia e nas mudanças de preferências dos espectadores. Também vamos discutir como os cinemas menores podem sobreviver em meio à concorrência com grandes redes de cinema e a conveniência das plataformas de streaming. Nosso painel de especialistas da indústria, incluindo produtores, diretores e especialistas em VFX, vai oferecer insights sobre as estratégias que estão fazendo a diferença globalmente. Como moderador do debate de hoje, vamos ter o professor Simon McCattengart, professor associado no Departamento de Cinema e Artes da Mídia na Utah Asia Campus em Incheon, Coreia do Sul, onde leciona sobre cinema coreano, história do cinema e produção de documentários. Ele também é roteirista e diretor de um próximo documentário sobre cineastas mulheres na história do cinema coreano. Como debatedores de hoje, teremos presencialmente Minon Pinho, empresária, produtora criativa de cinema e artes visuais, consultora e palestrante. Lidera a Casa Redonda, o FinCine, Festival Internacional de Mulheres de Cinema em São Paulo e startup Navega de cursos criativos. Com ampla experiência em produção de longas-metragens para festivais nacionais e internacionais, atua também como consultora em políticas culturais para projetos audiovisuais. É membro do Mais Mulheres, Liderança no Audiovisual Brasileiro e diretora federal da APACE. Também temos conosco Chon Renan, produtora cultural, produtora de eventos, tradutora e intérprete de português-coreano, além de revisora de dublagem. Aileen Min. Aileen é mestranda em estudos de cinema e mídia na Columbia University com interesse em estética, intermídia e textualidade na cultura visual contemporânea do leste asiático. Sua pesquisa abrange cinema coreano, arte digital e literatura, explorando como esses meios moldam a representação cultural e a subjetividade humana. Roberto Gerwitz, cineasta brasileiro com trabalhos em documentários e ficção. Braços Cruzados, Máquinas Paradas, onde foi diretor, roteirista e editor. Feliz Ano Velho, onde foi roteirista e diretor. Jogo Subterrâneo, como corroteirista e diretor. Carandiru, Outras Histórias, diretor de 4 episódios. Prova de Coragem, roteirista e diretor. E Na Dança, documentário, onde foi diretor e roteirista. Apresentado em festivais como Berlim, Montreal, São Paulo e premiado em Leipzig, Gramado, Havana e Palm Springs. Também teremos conosco a diretora Kim Ki-hyun, nascida na Coreia em 1994, graduada em produção de cinema e TV pela Korea National University of Arts e estudante de gestão de artes na Chung-An University. Dirigiu My Daddy Superman, de 2012, The Film's Graduation, de 2016, The End of the Summer, em 2018 e Babari, em 2021. É CEO da Saragon Content Lab, produtora de notícias da MBN, diretora de produção do Captain Rock Indie, produtora do KOFF no Brasil e diretora de produção do Sometimes na OBS. Robert Michael Albertsen, Transitando das áreas de construção e design, ele ingressou no programa de produção virtual da Dave School, onde sua equipe de VFX ganhou o prêmio Silver Telly de 2024 pelo trabalho The Unending. Suas artes digitais presentes em capas de livros da Amazon, como a série Warrior Woman of Superior Island de Ace Johnson, refletem sua habilidade em narrativa visual. Proprietário da Albertsen Arts e CEO da Spicy Gator Productions. Espero que vocês aproveitem o debate.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the next debate at KOFF. This debate will be focused on post-COVID cinema. Cinema has changed dramatically ever since the COVID crisis that hit the world, and inviting audiences back into the cinema has proved a real challenge for countries around the world. So today we're going to be talking about these issues and what can be done to get audiences out of their homes and back into the multiplex. Robert, thank you. Finally, we get to ask you a question. So we've heard a lot from the panelists about the industry and trends and themes and content and things like that. I'd like to ask you specifically about visual effects. So as an expert in visual effects yourself, have you noticed any changes in the VFX industry since the end of the pandemic? And does this reveal anything about trends in cinema or about audience desires?
Yes, there's definitely been some trends and stuff like that we can go on. But one of the things that you really need to someone needs to understand is what is the importance of visual effects towards cinema and the history behind it as to the reason why we even need VFX artists and companies and stuff like that. For example, the most important reason I often usually talk to people about is, I would say, a joke, something along the lines of, I'm here to make certain that your actor shows up on Monday after we blow him up on Friday. So, you know, we want to make sure that we are making the most impossible shots and creating the outlandish visuals, but making it so that it's safe for the actors and staff that is, you know, filming these things. In fact, it's often important to credit those that came before us, such as Thomas Edison, who did the first credited visual effects shot at Queen Mary Scott's execution back many years ago, obviously, you know, and where they made it look like they chopped off an actor's head using a mannequin after they stopped the filming and brought in the mannequin and then continued the film. And that wowed and quite frankly awed crowds for decades. This allowed us to get into stuff like the matte paintings and then other types of visual effects magic that is often used by ILM and those of other types of movie companies that are out there. Where the importance of the visual effects is to work with the actors and directors and producers to enhance the storytelling of whatever their vision is, as well as to create believable characters in this more modern time frame, such as I see in the background there, you have a model of Jaws going after the small little boat. But we would, in today's market, try to make him into a CGI character, or that of, you know, if Steven Spielberg was to do the movie today. We're there to try to increase the production efficiency. We're there to try to make it more flexible. We are the hard workers in behind the camera to make it so that the audience gets a great experience and is engaged while they're watching this film or whatever we're asking to capture their attention for as brief of a moment as it is. We're integrating CGI and practical effects together, trying to meld them so that way that they're seamless, as well as trying to do multiple types of different types of shots and things that would be, some things were actually spearheaded back many years ago, such as when they replaced, I believe it was Humphrey Bogart, who had passed away before one of his films had finished, and they replaced his face back in you know, the 30s and 40s and whatever. And so these things we've been doing throughout history, and coming to the point, the importance of this. Now, getting to your question, the reasons for excuse me, the post-pandemic period has brought very significant shifts in the VFX culture industry because of the fact that we've had to adapt to a much more sophisticated audience, as well as the evolving trends that they bring along with them. So for example, we have a much more increased demand for high quality VFX content, and such is the reason why they shifted towards streaming, because the simple fact of the matter is the theaters weren't available, and so even though during that that pandemic time frame, we have not seen the numbers go back to pre-pandemic timeframes. I mean, they've increased by 65%. It's about a $7.5 billion increase, but it's still not the amount that we've seen beforehand. I mean, Tom Cruise kept his Maverick sequel, the sequel to Top Gun, out of the theaters, waiting for some sense of that return so that he could recapture the investment in that film, as well as, get more people to see his film, well, I think it was one of his, I believe he considered it as one of his masterpieces. I'm not 100% sure on that. But my point is that those visual effect heavy movies were hurting because of the fact that streaming services and stuff like that came into play. But another thing that was really big shift in VFX technology is the fact that we are utilizing technology significantly. LED screens, LED stages, virtual sets. These types of things are very versatile, as well as relatively, like they cost effective. So, like for example, an LED stage can be as small as 48 screens, which is approximately about, I want to say, if I converted it properly, it would be roughly about 4 meters in width, and about approximately, I think, like 6 or 8 meters tall or something like that. I could be wrong on that a little bit because I'm not really, I apologize. I'm American. I do everything in, I don't do things in metric. I apologize. Anyway, my point being though, was the fact that, yeah, so it'd be like 4 meters wide by 3 meters tall. Would be about 48 panels. And what you can do with these things is that you can literally put the side of a building. Let's say you wanted to have your actors in an apartment with overlooking, for example, if you were to do Hitchcock's greatest, one of his greatest films, where you had Jimmy Stewart looking out over the balcony to his neighbor, you could have all that on the LED screen, and Jimmy Stewart's not more than 5 feet from it, And so these panels are just absolutely amazing, because not only are they, the resolution on them are so extremely incredible. It's like you're looking at a real life, this is the advancement of what matte paintings were. So for example, these shifts have gone through different types of iterations, utilizing technology and creating more hybrid procedures and different types of methods to do the shots, which is allowing smaller companies to handle shots that only large organizations or large companies like ILM could handle for so long. So now, for example, my company, Spicy Gator Productions, is able to handle some work that not 10, 12 years ago only a large company could do. But because of the fact that I'm a small company, a startup company, we could handle maybe some shots from, let's say, The Mandalorian, who utilizes an LED stage. Well, they're most famous for doing so, to create their scenic, very, these epic, almost like I think his name was Francis Ford Coppola, who did very sporadic shots and stuff like that. They can recreate these things on LED screens, and then you could zoom in right to a spot, right there in that, and then make it so that a alien world is as realistic as the one we're currently living in.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Very interesting points there. And I'm really glad that you brought up The Mandalorian and Stranger Things, because both of those shows use a lot of VFX, and they're actually geared toward streaming services so people can watch them in their homes. So, what do you think would be an effective strategy in the VFX world to get audiences out of their living rooms and back into the cinema screens? Do you think it's possible at this point?
Yes, I think it is possible that if theaters practice a method that they actually perfected back in the day, which is to embrace technology and those advances that would be here, that would become widely accepted. For example, in the 20s and 30s, most theaters were the place to go because they were the only ones that had central AC. And so in those time frames, during the summer, they would be the most sought after location to go to for a brief of respite from the heat of the summer and stuff like that, which actually is the reason why we have summer blockbusters happening as from I believe it was Roberto who was talking about the blockbuster phenomenon was part of that because of the theaters having AC and no one else doing it, no one else having it because it was just an expensive thing. So that type of mentality is what theaters would probably need to recapture because for them to try to get people back into the seats, because the simple fact of the matter is that streaming is a little bit more convenient because of the fact that it's in your home and stuff like that. But you're missing out on stuff like enhanced and immersive theater experiences that could possibly be happening within the theater groups if they were to invest in those, such as VR and AR integrations for this day and age. Something that was done in the 70s and 80s was the surround sound, the Dolby surround sound, and the THX type surround sound technology that was advancing. During the 90s and 2000s, it was IMX, shoot. This is where I was afraid.
Atmos.
Yes, so you have these types of technological advances every couple of decades and stuff like that. And that's what needs to happen again. So that way that these cinemas and stuff like that, such as AMC, and they can become profitable again. Speaking from a small business aspect, if they were to do something simple as creating longer theatrical windows and preventing the release to streaming services like they used to do when you had a VHS tape, not what I believe it was 6 to 8 months after it left the theaters or something like that. If they were to readopt that type of mentality, that could be a significant way to get people back into theaters because they would want to go see Deadpool and the Deadpool Wolverine movie without wanting to wait that much amount of time, so they're going to pay that amount. If they were to lower prices, that might work, but it also could hurt them in the process because of the fact that they could become unprofitable due to the fact of inflation and all this type of aspects of the economy. But it could get people in the seats for a time being so that they can re-engage in that type of lived experience where you're laughing with a crowd, where you're crying with a crowd, where you're feeling those emotions, not just from yourself or from the immediate family that's in your living room, but a person that you don't even know. I mean, there's been times where I'd go to the theater and have a conversation with a complete stranger and have a great time, but the movie was horrible. So, I mean, it's possible to still have positive experiences and still have, that type of thing. So if they were to introduce a flexible pricing model, such as that of like maybe if you were, I believe AMC and both Cinemark, I believe they offer a like monthly subscription type process where you get like free popcorn or something like that, or a free movie a month. So I mean, those types of things are happening. If they can re-engage the nostalgia feeling in the community that could be that's still out there, because I mean, you got groups of people that are going to get together. I mean, you see it on Instagram where they get together and watch The Mandalorian in a bar. So I mean, why can't theaters capture that same feeling and have Mandalorian playing in their theater or something along those lines? I mean, obviously there's a lot of backroom type negotiations that have to go and getting rights and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, but I remember there was a report, or there was an article about Taylor Swift concert was so loud it made a Richter scale go off, and that same concert was also in a theater, and it was packed of people, and they were dancing in the aisles and stuff like that. It was just ridiculous. So the theater can be a profitable venue, but they have to think outside the box. They cannot be doing the same thing that they've been doing prior to that of COVID, because those days are over. But if they are innovative, if they are able to think about new ways, and also have maybe more of a behind the movie cinematic experience, like having more behind the scenes type of exclusive content, if they were able to create luxury seating. A lot of them do that now, where you can have a assigned seating before you ever show up, so you don't have to wait in line to. I remember waiting in line almost hours before the Avengers because I didn't want to get up in the nosebleed seats. So there's all kinds of things like that they can do to try to create that community environment and try to get that that ticket sold. So yes, I think it can be. I think it is a possibility, but they're going to have to think.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you very much to everyone who joined this debate today. All of your answers have given us great insights into some of the challenges of the film industry following the pandemic's closure. Still, we have a long way to go to getting all of the audiences back to the pre-pandemic levels, but the path is definitely looking promising from what you've said today. Thank you so much, everyone. Obrigado. 감사합니다.
Obrigada. Thank
Obrigada.
you. 수고하셨습니다.